One of the things that I've been asked to talk about is to share a bit of my personal story about how and why I got into doing results work. It's something that we ask every one of our guest speakers on our monthly conference calls to share, and I thought it would be time for me to maybe share that story. And for me, this started back in, I want to say 1999, but it might have been 1998, so it's quite a long time ago. I'd recently moved to the UK from New Zealand, and I didn't know anyone. I knew one person. She was an Australian, sleeping on her sofa. And she said to me one day, she said, "How did you heard of this organization called REUSLTS?" And I was like, "No." She says, "Yeah, my sister did it back in Australia." She said, "It's all about, ending poverty and writing letters and stuff and meeting other people. I think, you're into that sort of stuff. You might be interested in that." I'm like, "Yeah, okay. That sounds interesting. Well, what can we do?" And she said, "Well, their national conference is happening up in the Midlands in a couple of weeks. Shall we go?" And I said, "Yeah, why not?" So we booked a ticket. We went up there on the train. And I walked into a room very much like this one, full of people very much like you. And I immediately felt like I was home. I was like, these are people that care about changing the world. These are people that are doing something about it. These are just a bunch of really nice people, actually. And I learned in that meeting things about international development, but I also learned that there wasn't currently a London group. And so I was like, well, if it's results is all about taking action and getting stuff done, there's no group in London with Westminster is and all the rest of it. You better get started on that. So I immediately came back to London and started up, well, restarted actually, because it had lapsed, the London group. And the rest is more or less history. Through results, I managed to find out a lot about what international development actually is, what ending poverty is actually about. I had a lot of my notions of what poverty was really challenged. I mean, I was so ignorant what poverty really was that I thought that the way that I was going to help in poverty was that I was going to quit my job. I was going to volunteer in Africa digging wells. I don't know if you've seen these risks. These are not good risks, digging a hole in the ground. And frankly, Africa doesn't need people to dig holes in the ground. There are plenty of incredibly smart people in Africa, far better at doing civil engineering than I ever was, at putting in municipal water and wastewater systems, water treatment plants, and all the rest of it. And so really what I learned through my work in results is that poverty is political, and ending poverty is a political project. And that's the thing that we're going to be coming back to throughout the day and throughout the weekend. The theme for the conference is the power in all our voices, and it's a really, really important theme. It's really, so let's unpack that a little bit. First part of it, power. The power for what? Like, what are we doing? What is that power all about? I think one of the things that we talk about a lot in results, being that we're UK-based, we've got elected representatives, parliamentarians, we've got an ODA budget, and we talk a lot about, can we mobilise some more resources to fight tuberculosis? Can we mobilise some more resources to vaccinate kids? Can we mobilise some more resources to bring about the end of polio, get children educated, and so on? So a lot of the time we're not talking about money. Can we get the money steered towards the things that are going to have an impact? We've mobilised literally billions of pounds over the last decade, billions of pounds, to be steered into some of the highest impact development interventions. Huge amounts of money. That saved tens of millions of lives. And I think it's really important that we acknowledge that. And I think it's really important that we acknowledge that ending poverty is more than just about the money, but it's hard to do stuff without it. And so the money is a really, really important part of the conversation. So, please don't misconstrue what I'm about to say next. Money is important. But what if getting the money wasn't the most important thing we could be doing with our voices? This is something that is implied in our mission statement, right? Our mission is to partner with others to create the public and political will to end poverty, while empowering people to exercise their own personal and political power for change. And so implicit in that mission statement is that poverty is political, that we have enough in the world, that this is a set of political choices that have ended up with people not having enough. And so I think the act of using our voice is inherently political. And so I think it's about a lot more than the money. One of my favorite prime ministers, David Lange, you probably don't know who he is because he was the Prime Minister of New Zealand, not the Prime Minister of Britain. Great guy, absolutely hilarious. His quote, which I have completely adapted, so we didn't say it exactly like this, but I'm stealing from such a good idea. And this was about New Zealand's nuclear-free policy, actually, which is something he was talking about that. New Zealand is quite famously nuclear-free. He says, good policy is one that becomes so popular, so much a statement of who you are, that ultimately nobody that comes after you in politics can change it. And if you talk to most New Zealanders, they'll tell you nuclear-free New Zealand, being nuclear-free, being a non-nuclear nation, is really important to us. It's a big part of our identity. And I think if we're talking about what can we do with our voices, power that we have in our voices, this political project of ending poverty is so much bigger than money. That's the one that I'm really excited about. That's the one that I see results really taking on as an organization. It's something we've been doing for so long, ever since we got established. And it's been part of that, and having the doors open so that everybody can be a part of that is really, really important. And so that brings me to the final part of the question, the power in all our voices. So, whose voices? Ours, obviously, the people in this room, the people in this country, but absolutely not just ours. For far too long, poverty alleviation has been something that was done to people. That's not a very good way to do it. We started to improve it. We started to talk about ending poverty for people. Only slightly better, but not really there. It's just not good enough. What we need to be talking about, at the very least, is doing things with people. Even more than that, I think it's important that we recognize that nobody has worked harder at ending global poverty than the people currently experiencing it. Even if we gave every waking moment that we weren't in the office, all of our volunteering time, if we put all of our efforts to the wheel on that, we still wouldn't have gotten close to the efforts that people currently experiencing poverty put in every day to put food on the table for their families. And I think that's something it's really important that we recognize. We won't ever know what that's like. And so we really need to make sure that we are elevating those voices. We're making sure that those people's voices are being heard. We don't need to speak out for them. We can create the spaces for them to speak out themselves. And I think that's one of the big silver linings of the COVID pandemic. The COVID pandemic has been absolutely awful, human misery on a scale we have not seen in an incredibly long time. And we sometimes forget that here in Britain. We're triple vaccinated, we have an NHS. Over 10 million dead globally. That's a horrific number. But the one silver lining for COVID is that we now have everybody on Zoom. We have the ability to connect with people from all over the world instantly. I mean, for years I've been saying this little thing in my pocket can put my face in anybody else's pocket on the planet in seconds at no cost, right? Like, it's ridiculous, and we haven't really used that until now. Now we've got people from all over the world connecting, hearing from them directly, hearing their stories, hearing their voices. And I think, the excuses that we had, that was too hard, it was too tricky, those are all gone, and we're doing that. And we're actually making good use from that today. We're actually going to, even in our very first session, our keynote speaker is going to be joining us from Kenya. I'm really, really looking forward to what he has to say. And we're going to be doing that throughout the conference. That, I think, is a great place for me to pause and to finish welcoming you all. Hello, hello. Very, very good to see old friends and new. And because some of us are old friends and because some of us are new, we thought we'd start out with a bit of an icebreaker in the room and online to do that. So one final welcome from me. I'll be back, don't worry. I'm going to hand over to Stephanie.